Pay me, pay me, pay me my silver now. Pay me or go to jail. Pay me my silver now.
Good morning, Bix Weir, roadtoruta.com. We got lovely action above $30 in silver. A lot of people saying, is the floor in? Is the floor in? Which is, when the floor gets in on $30 silver, the beauty of it is you have less worry down here if it really is a floor, which I believe it is. Doesn't mean they can't, throw a billion ounces of derivative silver in 30 seconds at the COMEX price and drive the price to whatever they want. They can do that. The problem is every time it goes below 30, you got China and India buying massive amounts of silver, physical silver, the real thing. So that would be the beauty of a floor. And the beauty of a floor as an investor is you have like minimal downside risk and completely blue skies above $30, all the way till you get to 50. And then you got an interesting discussion, theoretical discussion of touching the all-time high. Now, remember, gold is trading at over 3 times its all-time high, over 2.5 times. What is it? What is gold? 23. So it's just below the 3x on the all-time high from 1980. That should just shock everybody, but most people don't think that much about where the prices of gold and silver are, or what the ratio should be, which is a very important part of gold and silver. Now, if you look at the gold, so we're currently at 73 to 1, 73 ounces of silver to 1 ounce of gold. I like the gold-silver ratio because it's harder. It's obviously a price determination, but how is that determination factored? Well, it's pretty easy. It's the price of gold divided by the price of silver. How many times does silver go into gold? But if both prices are manipulated, what other things can you think about? Well, you can think about the historical gold-silver ratio. And it's a pretty good way to think about the historical gold-silver ratio and why it should change. For years it was 12 to 1, 10 to 1, 15 to 1, 8 to 1, things like that. That's when people measured the amount of available gold and amount of available silver. Seems, pretty reasonable. And then they started to factor in, okay, how much have we found in the ground that we just haven't mined yet that could come into play really easily, things like that. So the gold-silver ratio was always below that. In 1971, when we went off the gold standard and the silver standard kind of was already gone. We went off the gold standard in 71, but the people weren't allowed to own gold. See, most of this gold-silver ratio thing in the last 100 years, 150 years, has been a manipulation of the price of gold and silver, a government interference, shall we say, of how gold and silver are traded. Theoretically, you might think, oh, no, they're freely traded now. They aren't. They're rigged on the COMEX. But what should the gold-silver ratio be? If you have, if you use your common sense, you think, well, how much gold is there above ground and how much silver? There's about 6 billion ounces of silver above ground that might possibly maybe come back into play. There used to be 60, but 90% of that has been destroyed in the since the Industrial Revolution. Because silver is the best conductor of electricity. It's used in everything. We consume silver right now. You're consuming silver right now by watching this video. There's a little bit of silver in the computer or the phone or whatever you're watching this video on. Everything has a little bit of silver. Solar panels have a lot of silver. But I'll get to that in a second. So the gold-silver ratio, the most obvious thing would be, how much is available? I would say, I can make a good argument, silver should be at least 1 to 1. 1 ounce of silver buys 1 ounce of gold and vice versa. Bix, you're crazy. That's what I hear a lot in my profession. I've been hearing it for years. The road to Ruta theory, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. There's no good guys behind the scenes. And now everybody talks about Q and all the good guys behind the scenes. But hey, it is what it is. But yeah, the gold-silver ratio probably should be close to... Now, I think it will be better, much better than 1 to 1, maybe 1 to 10. How can I say that? Every ounce of gold that's pulled up out of the ground pretty much is saved in jewelry or in investment central banks, and there's gold all around the place. There's massive amounts of gold in the ground that they're not telling us about, too. I've talked about that quite a bit. Read the book Gold Warriors by Sterling and Peggy Seagrave, and you'll get an idea of, holy crap, there's not, 200,000 tons of gold like Jeffrey Christian will tell you. There's more like 2 million tons of gold, potentially. And I'm not just pulling that number out of my somewhere. All the work I've done, gold in the Grand Canyon, gold at Chocolate Mountain, there's gold all over the place. Just Sterling and Peggy Seagrave, they spent their whole lives. And people say, Bix, why don't you just do a full analysis of all the gold in the world? It's secretly held. Secretly held. Oh, yeah, it's easy to say that. Secretly held. But yeah, it is. That's a fact. Sterling and Peggy Seagrave spent their whole lives going through Yamashita's gold. The gold that was hidden in the Philippines when Japan was about to lose the war. And then people started finding it. The CIA got involved, brought it into the dark ops and all that. The estimate was over 300 to 400,000 tons of gold. But that is completely, it's like double the amount of regular gold, so everybody just blew it off. Like my friends that got it. Oh, that's not true. Well, why don't you think it's true? Because it's not. There's only 200,000 tons of gold. Well, who told you there was 200,000 tons of gold? Guys like Jeff Christian, CPM Group, and guys like Metals Focus and in the Gold Institute, and people who have a vested interest in not telling you the truth, basically. So yeah, I a good ratio. The one I think this run will kind of hover around would be 15, 16 to 1 because of history. And then it'll go to 7 to 1 because that's what it's coming out of the ground at. And then it'll go to 1 to 1. We find out there's massive amounts of gold. And then we'll go to 1 to 10 or 1 to 20, where 20 ounces of gold buys you 1 ounce of silver. When we understand that silver is an industrial metal being consumed every day, and it's absolutely necessary in little tiny bits so that we can watch our YouTube videos and perform daily lives and save the planet from global warming with the electric cars and solar panels. That's the thing now. So I've been talking about it a long time, the gold-silver ratio. And historically, it might look like the gold-silver ratio is low if you look at like the 6 months chart right here, because it went up to 92 and it's down to 73 right now. But look at the 5-year chart. Holy moly. In 2021, we got down to 65 to 1, and we're at 75 to 1 right now. So it doesn't look as extreme going down to 73 to 1. Look at the 15-year chart, and you start getting a better idea. Back in 2011, when JPMorgan rigged the price of silver up from $20 to $50 and then slammed it and created the artificial bear market in silver, it got down to about 35, less than 35 to 1. Well, I mean, that's literally doubling the value of where it is now at 73. So if you're holding gold and you're thinking, oh, well, where should the gold silver ratio be? There's a little, when we start running towards, that was just a $30 run. When we start running towards 50, you could very easily see that number pierced, as in it goes below 30 to 1. Now, let's take a larger look let's look at 30 years. If you look at 30 years, 80 was pretty much the top until JPMorgan brought it up to 128 to 1, which was the most ridiculous thing ever back in the time of COVID. And I mean, the manipulation of JPMorgan is full and complete and heavy-handed. It's not just them. They work with the U.S. government. They work with HSBC. They work with Bank of America to do this, to perpetrate the fraud on you if you're a silver investor. But if you look at the historical 30 years, I mean, most of the time, the gold-silver ratio has been well below 80 to 1 for the majority of 30 years. It's been down, I'd say the average is right in here. 70 will be a good mark to break. And then back in 1998, it got down into the 30s, and again in the 30s there. And then you look at the overall, and we got in 1980, when it hit 50, the all-time high, it was down to, I think, what was it? It looks like 15 to 1 or so. As a matter of fact, we can do it right here. So it's 80 divided by 50. Oh, sorry, 800 divided by 50. I think it was 800. The gold high divided by 50. That's 16 to 1. Then that's when it bottomed. In the last 50 years, or 40 years since this happened, 44 years, how much silver has been demolished, consumed, disappeared, and how much gold has been dug out of the ground. Massive amounts of gold are dug out of the ground every year and saved. Massive amounts of silver have been spent, consumed, gone in industrial applications. So yeah, the gold-silver ratio is on its way to destroy, shall we say, the market riggers. And I love that. If you own gold, if you really love gold, you want as much gold as you could possibly get your hands on, you should sell all your gold today, put it into silver, wait for the gold-silver ratio to be something like it's coming out of the ground. It's 7-1. So wait for it to be 7-1. You're going to make 10 times. You'll have 10 times the amount of gold when you swap back. I hope that makes sense. Even everybody in the gold and silver business knows how that game works. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to study a little more. But gold has always been in the news. Silver is now getting in the news. People starting to talk about it. Great discussion on Alex Jones with Kirk Elliott saying China's exposure to naked short selling could bring down all major banks. Yes, of course China can destroy the banking system. But it's to their advantage to have it keep going. They're winning the game. China doesn't want to destroy the system. India doesn't want to destroy the system. They're all winning the game. The only people losing and don't even know they're losing is the United States of America and the Western powers. We are losing so badly. And it can all be destroyed with the click of a mouse in China, in India, all around the world. People are just laughing at the United States of America and our COMEX rigging job. Everybody knows about it. I'm still very worried about Ted Butler. Nobody's heard, hide, nor hair of him. Today is Wednesday, May 29th. It's been about a month since he's posted. Today is a posting day for his private newsletter, and I haven't seen it yet. It usually doesn't come out till noon my time, so a few more hours, but I am very worried. I wasn't worried in the beginning. I'm thinking, family issues or something, but he's been gone. This is his time to shine. The whole thing about knocking down the moving averages. These are the moving averages. That's how they rig the price, and it's the commercials and the whole analysis of the commitment of traders. That's Ted Butler's wheelhouse for the past 50 years. And all of a sudden, it's getting blown out of the water, and Ted's nowhere to be found. That's very disheartening. Very concerning. Hopefully the good guy said, if you want, we'll let it go, but you got to stand back and don't tell the big guys what's happening through your analysis of the commitment of traders. Because it looks like from the commitment of traders that the big commercials are short, massive amounts, and stuck. But when you get behind the hood, who are the big commercials? Could it be that there's a different commercial trader and the real big guys, the controllers, JPMorgan, HSBC, those guys are not the ones that are short? I don't know. HSBC really does absolutely look like he's short, like they are short, because they're the only ones delivering. They're delivering massive amounts of silver on the COMEX. That means they had the short position at the end of the month. Nobody wants to have that, but they had it. It meant they can't close it out. So it could be that JPMorgan, Bank of America, everybody shifted all their silver shorts. The new silver hot potato seems like it's at HSBC. And speaking of JPMorgan, CFTC fines JPMorgan Securities, a Fed primary dealer, $100 million for failing to surveil potential spoofing and high-frequency trading for 8 years. I thought we already dealt with this. I thought, we're going to fine JPMorgan $920 million for rigging the gold and silver markets through high-frequency trading and spoofing. And there's a 3-year, and I've talked about this, there's a 3-year moratorium on them doing anything before everything changes. I had mentioned, and this was back in September, I think, of last year, I said, hey, there's been no announcement by the Department of Justice or the CFTC that JPMorgan was out of the woods, so to speak, out of trouble, and it looks like, hey, I was right. There you go. Chalk one up for Road to Ruta. They did get busted for continuing to spoof and high frequency trade. Good. Go to Wall Street on Parade. They have a great discussion. How does a Wall Street trading firm gain competitive advantage to entice spoofers and high-frequency trading firms to use its trading platforms instead of those of its competitors? How about having its trading compliance personnel wear blindfolds as billions of trades occur over a span of 8 or 9 years? That is essentially what 3 JPMorgan Chase's federal regulators have suggested is behind the $448 million in fines they've levied against 3 separate units of the largest bank in the United States. When JPMorgan Chase filed its quarterly report with the SEC on May 1st, it sheepishly admitted that the $348 million it had already paid out to 2 of its regulators for trading violations was not the end of this saga. It said that it, quote, expects to enter into a resolution with a 3rd U.S. regulators that will require the firm to, among other things, pay a civil penalty of $100 million. This is the most criminal bank on the planet. Last Thursday, ahead of a long holiday weekend, the 3rd regulator, the CFTC, we all know about the CFTC, released its statement and imposed a fine of $200 million, which magically became $100 million by giving this 5-count felony bank a $100 million credit for settling with the 2 other regulators. This is just so ridiculous. Why is JP Morgan the custodian, the holder of SLV, the largest silver ETF on the planet, when they are nothing but criminal market regulators? Regulators are pathetic. It's a joke. It's embarrassing for the United States. It's embarrassing for the world. But for you, it's a way to make money. JP Morgan has to rig the price of silver, or the silver price goes to $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 an ounce. They have to do it. JP Morgan has to continue to rig, or they're out of business and the whole world collapses with their, what do they got, 50 trillion in derivative exposure? Poof, gone. JP Morgan goes, everybody goes. Your 401k, your checking account, your savings account, everything gone. And by the way, the FDIC will not cover it. They don't even have a head of it FDIC anymore. And they're talking about the JP Morgan operative at the CFTC on the commissioner as the new head of the FDIC because she's a minority woman, I guess. That's why Joe Biden wants her. It's kind of cruel to put someone with no experience as the head of the FDIC when the entire system's about to implode. But hey, they put a minority woman in charge of the U.S. Mint. Look what happened. Complete implosion. Went from the number 1 mint in the world by far to just number 2 and falling fast. And they can't make a silver eagle to save their life. Go to roadtoruta.com. Go to roadtoruta.com. Go to the very first page. And go down to there's good stuff on silver and solar, but go down to the 3-part interview I did with the head of Silver Eagle sales at the U.S. Mint. I called customer service. They said, well, I can't answer these questions. I don't know the answers. Because I had some very simple questions. Why can't you make enough Silver Eagles? And why do you have a massive hedge book that you lost $110 million on? All the stuff that, we'll have someone get back to you. So he gets back to me. This is the head of sales, Jack Sermon. Great guy. He's been there forever, since the beginning of the program. And we had an hour-long conversation. I broke it up into 3 parts where he admits, yeah, we're breaking the law everywhere. Everywhere. Go listen to that. It's right on the front page at roadtoruta.com. And while you're there, put your name and email address in on the left. I don't trust YouTube. YouTube will kick me off soon. I think hopefully they won't black bag me. They might have done to Ted Butler. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Anyway, go check it out, roadtoruta.com. Check out the discussion. All right, a few more things. China's silver imports set to jump as solar demand lifts prices. This is from Bloomberg. And the reason I put, it's an obvious headline, but the reason I put it in here was to show that Bloomberg is definitely on the side of the riggers. They are an operative of the deep state, an operative for the manipulation of all markets. And they're the one of the main media arms. But look what they say about silver, for example. Chinese imports have already been strong in recent months. They hit a 3-year high in December of about 390 tons. Before falling back, they jumped again in April to over 340 tons. The monthly average is 310 tons. In what universe? In what universe? Let's just take the monthly average. 310 tons times 32. We'll do tons, T-O-N-N-E-S. It's just short of 10 million ounces. Are you telling me that China, the largest manufacturers of electronics on the planet, the largest manufacturer of solar panels, which uses 370 million ounces of silver, 380 million ounces of silver last year, only imports 10 million ounces a month, which is 120 million ounces a year? In what universe is that true? I mean, just go to the front of the Road to Rita page. This is just too easy. Even the Silver Institute says they're lying. Just photovoltaics right here. Let's just take the ridiculous number from the Silver Institute of 193 million ounces for solar panels. Okay, 193 million ounces. 190. This is just the ridiculous number. It's really 387. But let's just use their number because the whole thing is so ridiculous. Okay. Divided by, see how many tons that is. That's 6,000 tons. So just solar is 6,000 tons. And they're saying 6,000 tons. And China only, and that's it, over a year. And China only imports, we're going back to here, 340 tons. They need 6,000, or 310. So 310 times 12 would give you the annual. So it's 3,000. That's less than half of just solar. So the 310 tons is a complete lie, unless China has a stockpile of silver that's so massive nobody knows about. Tens of billions of ounces. No. China imports massively more than 310 tons a month. They have to. They make all these electronics. What do they use? Fake silver? Do they use a COMEX contract to stick in a solar panel? No. Bloomberg's lying again. Everybody lies in silver. Why? Because it's so important. So massively important. It's used in everything. If you're a silver investor, you got the whole world against you. I hate to tell you. Even your neighbors hate you. They don't want to pay, one day $500 for a flat screen TV, the next day $2,500 for a flat screen TV because the price of silver went to $2,000. They don't want to pay that. They'd hate you. Everybody hates silver investors. But we believe in free markets. We believe in doing your homework. Interesting announcement out of Microsoft. Microsoft made the biggest renewable energy agreement ever to fuel its AI ambitions. So everybody talks about AI. Now, I'm knee-deep in it with Theta. Theta is going to solve the AI problem. The AI problem is you don't have the capacity, the bandwidth. You don't have the storage capacity with all the cloud storage needed for AI. You don't have the computing speed. Theta brilliantly solved all of those problems. All of them. And pretty soon the world's going to find out. So get your Theta fuel, stake your Theta fuel. If you have over 500,000 starting June 26th, you got to do your own staking. And then anything over 500,000, you're going to get about 50% is their estimate. Is it right away? 50% annual return. So people have to pay Theta Fuel to use the AI facilities. The AI capabilities can be greatly enhanced by what Theta has done. It's amazing. I mean, it's so shocking what it went from. When it went from is a content delivery network, a way to save money on content delivery fees. The last mile problem of broadband. It's why the little circle goes around when you try to log into Netflix. They figured out a way to solve that problem by everybody sharing their broadband. But then they expanded and said, oh my God, not only can we share broadband, we can share excess hard drive space, excess computing power. And that's what's going on. So keep an eye on that. Anyway, Microsoft is putting in 10.5 gigawatts of renewable energy. Just one company. One company is swallowing 6-7 million ounces of silver in 10.5 gigawatts because it's new, so it's going to be TopCon. It's just a no-brainer. It annoys me that there are so many lies being told in the media by Metals Focus, by the Silver Institute. I mean, those are blatant lies. It's embarrassing, truthfully. Anyway, the world is finding out about it. Interesting, today or yesterday started the financial markets need to move to T+1, which is 1 day settlement, not 3 day settlement. This is for stocks and bonds. Yeah, it's a big cluster. Big cluster. We've talked about it for years on the road to Ruta. Watch the documentary, Patrick Byrne explaining what naked shorting is. It's called Deep Capture, to understand really what goes on behind the scenes of the stock market. Stock market is not what you think. It's not buyers and sellers getting together. It's massive rig jobs, massive naked shorting, high frequency trading, out of control. So theoretically, the SEC is trying to slow that down with trading in 1 day. Now, with settling in 1 day, which means settlement means a transfer of ownership of the share of stock. Well, it's all done electronically now, so you'd wonder why it takes a full day even. A share of stock, transfer the cash, sign the documents, done. They're changing to 1 day. With cryptos, it's instantaneous, as fast as it can be put on the blockchain. It's instantaneous practically with Theta. It's not with Bitcoin. It takes 10 minutes or so. Yeah, that's a big change. The high-frequency trader companies are going to hate that because they can't be naked short for long enough. And it can all blow up in their face, and maybe that's what's going on. Who knows? And by the way, if you ever hear people saying, oh, they're going to put the stock market on the blockchain and all that, that's in violation of Reggie's patent. All of it. So that'll be an interesting wrench when that's chucked into the after the collapse and BlackRock and JPMorgan say, hey, we got a new blockchain-based markets we're going to implement, and then Reggie says, where's my cut? I have the patent for peer-to-peer transactions on the cryptocurrency on the blockchain. He did it in 2013, and he was awarded. He got 2 patents in Japan and 1 or 2 in the U.S. You can't argue it. I know Jamie Dimon wants to believe he invented Bitcoin. He'll say that, I'm sure, at some point. By the way, he's announced he's leaving. Ha! Bankers don't leave when things are going well. Let me just give you that. Great conversation. Our buddy Will Lair posted this on Twitter, the conversation with Tucker Carlson, the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele. Amazing guy, a great leader. If I can tell, I am not diving into this. I don't know the man myself. Yes, he threw a hell of a lot of people into prison. Is that good? Is that bad? It's a lot safer now in El Salvador than it ever was. Go check out that discussion. Probably heading out to see Will in El Salvador at some point this year, hopefully. All right, that's what I got for you. Again, hang on to your hats. Get your physical silver in your own possession. Get your Theta and T-Fuel. If you have over 500 T-Fuel, you definitely want to get involved in the June 26th release of the booster, which brings it into the AI world because you can make a lot more return. Anything above 500,000 T-Fuel. So check it out. This is Bix Weir. You want to subscribe to roadtoruta.com, get all the behind-the-scenes stuff. I think I got Jenny Moonstone on tomorrow. Go to roadtoruta.com. Click on subscribe today. We will send you 5 Theta, 50 T-Fuel, and 500 T-Drop already loaded on paper wallet. Just stick it in. You're safe with your silver, and you'll be fine. Like, for example, we gave 0.1 Bitcoin away many years ago, and all of a sudden, that for a 1 year subscription. And 1 year subscription is $2.99. Obviously, 0.1 Bitcoin is now worth, $6,800 or something. I think that the same thing is going to happen to T-Fuel. So there you go. There's your hint. This is Bix Weir. I'll talk to you later.